Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're tackling something that is literally the backbone of how we communicate. We're going to master the architecture of cause and effect. Whether you're dissecting a dense academic paper, sitting for a high-stakes standardized test, or honestly just trying to figure out why your morning commute was such a total disaster, getting a firm grip on this logical relationship is your absolute secret weapon. It's the framework we all use to explain exactly why things happen and what happens as a result.
So here's a question for you. Can you identify what happened and why? I know it sounds deceptively simple, right? But think about it for a second. How often do we actually jumble up the events in our lives with the underlying reasons for those events? As we decode this source material today, I really want you to keep challenging yourself with this exact question. How easily can you separate a simple sequence of events from the actual driving forces behind them? Because honestly, that's separation. That is exactly what cause and effect is all about.
All right, let's dive straight into Section 1, Defining Cause and Effect, the core logic.
To really master this whole concept, we've got to split it apart into a super clear dichotomy. Right on one side, we have the cause. Now, the sources define the cause basically as the reason why something happens. Think of it as the catalyst, the spark. Then, on the complete opposite side, we have the effect. And the effect is defined as the result, or what specifically happens as a direct consequence of that initial cause. It's the outcome. By keeping these two concepts cleanly separated in your head, the why it happens versus the what happens, you instantly build this rock-solid foundation for analyzing literally any text.
Moving right along to Section 2, a real-world example, seeing it in action.
Let's look at a scenario that perfectly illustrates what we're talking about here. We've got a very clear two-step chronological flow straight from our source material. Step 1, it rained heavily. Step 2, so the streets flooded. When we map our core logic onto this little mini narrative, it becomes crystal clear. The heavy rain, that's our cause. It's the underlying reason. And the flooded streets, that's the effect, the direct, undeniable result of all that heavy rain. The chronology absolutely matters here, folks. The reason always drives the outcome.
Okay, let's jump into Section 3, Spotting the Signal Words, Tools for Textual Analysis.
So, you might be wondering, how do we actually spot these relationships out in the wild? Well, there are these 4 little words that act like giant glowing neon signposts for your brain. When you're slogging through a dense paragraph and you spot the words because, therefore, since, or as a result, an alarm should instantly go off in your head. The sources explicitly flag these as your signal words. It's basically the author's way of just handing you the logical architecture of the text on a silver platter. They connect the reason to the outcome for you, completely saving you the mental heavy lifting of trying to guess how 2 random events are actually related.
Which brings us to Section 4, Practical Application, Praxis Exam Strategies.
Now, recognizing those signposts is a fantastic skill, but applying it under pressure, that's the ultimate goal here. If you're tackling a rigorous standardized test, like the Praxis exam, for instance, you aren't just casually reading. The exam is going to deliberately challenge your ability to disentangle the reason from the outcome. Practice questions will literally ask you point blank, what caused this event, or what was the result? And look, in a high-pressure testing environment, it is so incredibly easy to let anxiety blur the lines between what happened and why it happened. The test makers know this, and they design these questions specifically to see if you can keep those concepts strictly separated.
So, how do you beat it? Well, the crucial point is captured right here, in this quote from the source material. Follow the sequence of events carefully. To nail those test questions, you really have to trace the timeline. If they ask for the cause, you've got to trace the sequence backward from the event to find the core reason. If they ask for the effect, you trace the timeline forward from an action to pinpoint its ultimate outcome. Mastering the sequence, that is exactly how you master the logic.
All right, let's bring this all together. If you take absolutely nothing else away from this explainer today, please burn this concept into your memory. Cause equals reason. Effect equals result. That's it. It's simple, it's elegant, and it is the absolute core of the logical architecture we've been unpacking. The reason drives the outcome, every single time.
And before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this one final thought. How are you going to use signal words to decode the next complex text you read? Seriously, the next time you sit down with a difficult article, or maybe a grueling practice exam, don't just read the words on the page. Look for the architecture. Hunt for the because, the therefore, the as a result. Find those reasons, link them right up to their outcomes, and just watch how quickly the complex suddenly becomes crystal clear. Happy learning, and keep decoding the logic around you.